All right, our next speaker is Maurice Sedacca. Maurice plays guitar and the oud. I don't know what an oud is. Maybe Maurice can tell us what that is. For the Elias Ladino Ensemble. They'll be performing on Friday, June 17th at the Piazza. He's going to tell the story of how he met his wife. The music was essential to this meeting.
Good evening. Great to be here. Well, if you want to know what the oud is, you can come and see us. Actually, there's a picture on the flyer of the ensemble with a different percussionist, but I'm holding an oud in that picture. And the oud is actually like the grandfather of the guitar. The Moors brought the oud to Iberia when they invaded Spain. And, excuse me. I'm sorry. Is that a little better? Yeah. Okay. It evolved into the guitar over the years. There were several stages. There's actually one instrument which kind of lasted, which is called the vihuela, which is like a combination of a classical guitar and a oud. Oud is it's a teardrop-shaped instrument. The Spanish changed the shape after they expelled the Moors. They made it the shape of a lady. But the oud is similar to a guitar. The ancient ouds were 5 double courses or 10 strings. The modern ouds, the last several hundred years, have another bass string, so it's really 11 strings. But it's like 6 strings, like a guitar. And it's mostly tuned in fourths, but the bass strings, there are variations. And there are no frets like a guitar, because the Middle Eastern music uses quarter tones, which you can't do with frets. So the oud has this special characteristic. It's not really good for playing chords. When you do any kind of harmony, there's not that much harmony in the Middle Eastern music to really play chords, but when you do play a chord, it's arpeggiated. So that's the oud. And I call it the grandfather of the guitar. I started playing guitar. My mother had a lot of flamenco records from Spain, and that made me want to play guitar when I was a kid back 58 years ago. But my grandfather was from Turkey, and he played the oud, so that's where I got my influence on that. Anyway, I was told that we had to tell a story, something about the music. Back in 1970, I was playing with a Latin jazz group, kind of like a Willie Bobo kind of outfit. And we were playing for an Angela Davis rally. I don't know if anybody here knows what Angela Davis is. And it happened to be at Hunter College. They have a huge auditorium. And I would happen to be a student at school at the same time. And so we were playing this show, and we were on the break, and we're in the hallway, and I see the leader of the group, this guy Sahim. His real name was Victor Blackman, but it was very popular in those days for people to take on like a Muslim kind of identity. And so I see him talking to this girl in my dreams. So I gotta go over and see what's happening. So he introduces me. This is the brother that played guitar. And she says, "Oh, I did guitar. I used to study the guitar." And I said, "Oh, that's great." And I'm looking at her and I said, and of course, we had a few habits, you know, in those days, so I wasn't completely straight. And so I say, "You're so out of sight. I'm gonna write a song for you." So she looked at me like, this guy is really jive. But we started talking, and she told me she studied a little classical guitar, and I said, "Yeah, well, you know, I started with flamenco, and then I happen to be studying right now with one of Segovia's students, a guy named Rodrigo Riera." And she said, "Oh, that's fantastic." And so we started talking and so forth, and I'm like, my head is spinning. So that night I had a gig up in the Bronx, so I had a gig. And I got home, it was about 4 or 5 in the morning, and I was really flying, I guess. And I'm still thinking about this chick, and I can't get her off my mind. So I pull out my Spanish guitar, because I was doing the gigs with my electric guitar. And I pull out my Spanish guitar, and I'm thinking about this girl. And I sit down, and I start playing, and I come up with a tune. And then I start thinking about it. Well, this is a little too blue, so I start playing something else. And I say, you know what? I gotta play both these songs for her. So I go back to Hunter College, because she told me she was a student there. And I go back the next day, and I'm carrying my guitar with me, and I'm looking all over the cafeteria and all these places. And I see her, and I say, hey, Louisa, that's her name, Louisa. And I say, I got your song. And she looked at me like, are you for real? I said, yeah, I stayed up all night, I wrote your song. So we found a quiet spot. They had a theater, the lady was talking about Shakespeare. They had a theater at Hunter College. I don't know if it still exists, but it was emulated the Global Theater in a way, and it was very quiet. So we went in there, and it was kind of dark, and I started playing the first movement. I call it a suite nowadays. The first part of the song, the first song of the suite, and I'm playing it, and I'm really getting into it. All of a sudden, she starts crying and runs away. So I said, man, what did I do, man? You know, I really blew this. But I was kind of persistent, and I found her again about 3 weeks later. And so she said, oh, I'm sorry, you know, it was just so emotional, I couldn't deal with it, and so forth, like that. So I thought, well, that's cool, you know, and so we started talking, and then there were all these riots going on at the time. This was a lot of time of the unrest going on with the war, and everybody had a cause. You know, the Vietnam War was like the big deal, but everybody was getting on the bandwagon who didn't want a playground here. There was always some, so the riots were going on. So we kind of got together, and as many fast forwarding, 46 years later, she's still doing time. She's my wife now. I'm not letting her off for good behavior or anything like that. And we have grandchildren and everything. So I guess. So the moral of the story is, you know, some people get married for love, some people get married for money, and my poor wife got married for a song. So, you know, if you're a gigging musician, you're always playing standards, you're playing Latin, you're playing with the Ladino Ensemble, you know, and so forth like that. You don't really get to do your own material that much if you're a gigging musician. So finally, last year my producer encouraged me to make another album, and I finally recorded it, and it's the title tune to my last album. It's called Louis. I called it two tunes together, a suite. So Louis is so sweet and other delights. And I wrote a copy to present to Julie.
Oh,